Greetings, growing business owners. Let's talk about R&D. Of the 5 main building types, research and development centers are the hardest to get money from, but also the ones with the most leverage. They don't bring in cash like a retail store, or make sellable products like a factory, farm, or raw material site. Instead, they research patent lines that can be used to improve the quality appeal of things you make. An R&D center should not be the first building you make or the second. But experienced players say that these buildings make from 0 to 20% of their properties. How many you build will depend upon your chosen strategy. The basic function of an R&D center is simple. Assign money for expenses and let it work. As time passes, the center will contribute to the patent line. If it makes enough progress to overcome the regular decline, your research will improve. Let's take a look. Here's a center that's researching cars. The upper right has all the building's basic statistics. If you own other properties, that should all look familiar. If you don't, please rewind this video to the section where I told you not to build these first. The upper left has several icons we'll be using to move between sections. As you can see, this R&D center is researching cars. We already assigned a patent ID, but it's a brand new one starting at level 0, and we're told that gaining a full level to R1 will take 13.7 work hours. And then the rest of the box breaks down how you're doing. A building can employ up to 1 person per 100 feet. This is a starting size building, so it has 1 employee, and that's the best we can do for now. The next 3 attributes are set at 100%, and we'll get to them later, but they make the math easy. 1 employee at 100% equals 24 work hours per day. That means over the next day, this facility will move your research up by 1.75 levels. Of course, society catches up, which slides you back a bit, but on the whole, this R&D center is gaining levels and doing so very quickly. Let's take a quick look at the cost sheet. It breaks down into 2 sections: utility and taxes for the building, and salary and training for the employees. Our total is 9,000 something bucks. So I've set the expense account to 10,000, which should cover today's costs. Now I'm going to use my developer magic to jump us forward in time about an hour and a half. Already we can see changes. The level has gone up, and there's now a warning for the expense account. Checking it, we see that it's down a few hundred. Nothing unexpected for an hour and a half of work. But that warning came up to let us know the current account will run out in less than 1 day unless we add more money. What I'm going to do now is jump us ahead the rest of the day, putting us about 24 hours from our first look. And here's the result. We passed level 1 and will just keep working until cash runs out. Look at the expense account. It's now down to 100. So if we were to let this run longer, the building would stop. I don't want that to happen, so I'll just put more money in. The 4-week button should be plenty, and then we don't have to worry. So that's all you need to know to get work started. Create a research and development center, put money in the expense account, and let it go. Everything else we'll talk about are the changing dynamics and the choices you can make. Now, what we can already see is that it's getting harder to push up in levels. Originally, from R0, 1 more level required 13 work hours. Now to move another level requires 19 work hours. The higher you get, the harder it is, which is why you should count those gain forecasts as just estimates since it changes within the day. We're still making great progress here, but we'll inevitably hit a point where your research plateaus, like this. This R&D center has had a very good run. We're up to 14.4 in our car research and have hit the point where we are gaining at the same rate society is catching up. Now that's not bad. This center is keeping us at a level above a normal car maker. For less than 10,000 a day, we have level 14.4 research available to all our car factories. That's a good thing. But maybe we want to do better. So let's look into the research mix. The research mix is this colorful triangle. Every product in the game has 3 types of quality that the public might care about. For cars, these are appearance, durability, and the environmental impact. And people care about those things in different amounts, which change over time. The research mix reflects what types of improvements this building is developing. By default, your research attempts a balanced mix of all three. By balancing, you will always put out a result of 100%. But sometimes you can do better. For example, right now the public doesn't seem as interested in appearance. What they want is a more durable product that's good for the environment. Let's look at a mix with a slight environmental focus. See the difference? The change in research mix means we can get 111% instead of just 100. However, reconfiguring the entire facility is going to cost money. It's a one-time fee coming out of cash, not building expenses. We're only making a small move from the center to a nearby point, so this fee is around $61,000. Had we made a bigger move, or had our starting point been further away, it would have cost more. I'm going to lock in a move to a completely environmental focus. Then we'll look at the first page again. See? We're now putting out 29 work hours per day, still from one employee. Not a tremendous gain, but we're making progress to a higher level, and it doesn't cost anything more in daily expenses. But there is a catch. Right now, environmental appeal is popular, but over time the preferences will shift. If you leave a single focus for too long, it might one day become the least popular one. When that happens, your mix is putting out less than 100%. That's worse than being in the middle. So the stronger a mix you choose, the more you have to watch out to ensure it doesn't backfire. And if you insist on always having the most popular mix, it might cost you a lot of fees to be constantly reconfiguring. If that's the strategy you want, you might consider upgrades. An upgrade is a semi-permanent change to your facilities that makes them more flexible. There is an expense, and it shuts down your building for a little while, but they can save you money if you want to change mixes a lot. I'm just going to use a little dev magic to upgrade this building to level 8. So what do 8 upgrades get us? Well, each upgrade saves 10% on the cost of changing mixes. We're saving 80%, so a small move is down from $60,000 to just 12. And yes, if you go all the way to 10 upgrades, you can change mix as often as you like for free. But the reason I said semi-permanent is that eventually you'll want to expand the building. When you do, that upgrade level will go down proportionately. So you can see there's a lot of strategy involved in setting your research mix. But that's not the only variable. We won't get into it, but if your type of land provides a change to research speed, this line will show it. Lands that affect running costs will do so via utilities. Now we're expanding from 100 to 200 feet. Expansions affect upgrades like this. It goes down either one upgrade per 100 feet, or a proportion, whichever is smaller. So here we lost one upgrade, but a building doubled from 10,000 to 20,000 feet wouldn't lose all its upgrades, just half. Now as it says, our building is closed for construction. That means no work is being produced, but no costs are charged either. Yes, you will lose ground on research while your building is closed, and there's another effect we'll get to, but the increased capacity should usually be worth it. I'll finish up the expansion and we'll see. With the construction finished, our building goes right back to work. At 200 feet, it can now hold 2 employees. We're putting out double the work and, as you would expect, have double the costs. It's not always that simple though. I'm going to make the building 1,200 feet. 2 things here might be unexpected. Do you see them? First, even though we're at 1,200 feet, we don't have 12 employees. It says 10 and hiring. This is another consideration as you get bigger. You can always get up to 10 employees immediately. After that, you will need time for them to find you. The best you can do is be open and operating, and employees will join over time. As they get hired, they will join your payroll and start working. Suppose I let this building run for a couple days. Our research is still advancing quickly, and we've hired a full set of employees. But I've run our expense account down. Instead of filling it, I'm going to let it run out. I do not recommend trying this at home. Now the building is shut down because we couldn't pay our bills. Not only are we losing progress, but the employees will leave over time, and then we'd have to lure those last 2 back. Fortunately, it's easy to avoid. Just make sure there's always cash in your expense account. That said, this also happens when your building closes for construction. Expenses stop, but employees will go look for work elsewhere if you're not paying them. More on that in a bit. First, let's discuss that other thing you might have noticed. Employee effectiveness. You might see this referred to more generally as diminishing marginal returns. What it means is this. When you only need one employee, you're going to get the best you can find for the salary. But as you need to hire more, they can't all be the best. That means bigger buildings will be less efficient. Fortunately, you can unlock a tool to fight this. Here's the salary and training section. As a small company, you won't really need this and don't have to worry about it. However, once you hit level 5, you gain access to the salary setting, like this. Now first, let me point out that I jumped this up to 20,000 feet and 200 employees because that's where it really starts to matter. Employee effectiveness is down to 76% based on the $7,000 per employee we've always paid. But now we can control that. By spending more money, you can hire better employees to replace the current ones or provide training to improve the ones you have. This of course takes a little while to work. You set a spending level and then the employee effectiveness adjusts to it over time. Suppose we are staring at our cost sheet and decide to save money. Maybe 25% effectiveness would be okay for a while. So I'll bring the slider down to around 2,000 and lock it in. And now it's saving us almost $1 million per day instantly. But what will happen is that over time the 76% will come down to 27%. To accomplish the opposite, I'm going to raise our expenses to 10,000. Our R&D center costs more to run, but will work towards higher effectiveness. And you can go as low as 1,000 or as high as it takes to get to 100%. But let me caution you, it's not always right to be 100%. Once you're hiring thousands of employees, that last few points of perfection can get really hard to obtain. A lower percentage that saves money to expand might just be the smarter play. You'll also find that as the economy does worse, you'll get better employees for the money, and as it improves, the same money won't go as far. Whether that weighs into your strategy is up to you. Just one last thing to look at, the construction section. Now, like salary, this needs to be unlocked. This time you gain access at level 10, so I'll jump us up to that. These buttons you should already be familiar with, and they were there before, and upgrades we've specifically talked about. The construction speed up at the top is a default speed. You can always change it when you go to do a manual expansion, but this is handy when you know what you want to do in advance, or if you are a gold or platinum user who starts expansion on several buildings at once. Obviously, the thing we unlocked is the big box in the center. Before, I said that your building shuts down when you are expanding, and if you have more than 10 employees, they'll start to leave. For big companies, you don't have to go that way. Normal expansion is still an option, but instead you could choose employee maintenance. What this means is that while you are expanding, you will pay $5,000 per employee per day. They won't be working, but they won't leave either. So as soon as your construction finishes, activity picks right back up, and you just need to hire for the new openings. The third choice is to work while expanding. And yes, that's exactly what it sounds like. Now you only get 50% of the regular expansion speed, and 50% of the regular work speed, and still pay full cost for both. But you are getting work and expansion simultaneously. If you are big enough that you always want to expand, and always want to work, now you can do that. Again, these options unlock at level 10. They do work with double or triple construction, and you can change your mind while construction is already going. And that's it. The many functions of modern-day research and development. Review. Number 1. Research will always be produced unless the building stops for construction or runs out of money. You don't have to manually start it. Number 2. All research will eventually reach a steady level, and that's how far ahead of society you stay. The more research put out, the bigger the lead maintained. Number 3. The research mix can improve your output by focusing on what the public wants. It's expensive to change, but upgrades can reduce that cost. Number 4. 1 employee per 100 feet. The first 10 come instantly, and beyond that, workers will join a site that's paying and leave one that isn't. Number 5. Starting at level 5, you can control the salary and training expense. Greater spending yields better employees, counteracting a natural decline in efficiency. That's it. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the game.